Yeah, we're just having a fascinating discussion about the nature of the fundamentals in Jiu-Jitsu. One of the great cliches of the sport we all grew up with, this idea that the fundamentals are everything. So often you hear this, without fundamentals you'll never amount to anything. And we're very much in agreement with this, that a student who lacks skills in the fundamentals of the sport is always going to struggle. So often as a coach, I see people who are very, very talented in certain niche areas. They have, for example, this great leg locks, or a great armbar, a great triangle. But weakness in the fundamentals of the sport, weakness in things like their escapes, et cetera, means that they never really get an opportunity to use those moves and the skills that they have. As a general rule, when you lose in Jiu-Jitsu, in the majority of cases, you lose along the lines of your weakest skill sets. So when you're weak in the fundamentals, I hate to say it, but you tend to lose a lot because that gets exposed very quickly, very easily. So there's a sense in which you have to first cover your weaknesses, and learning the fundamentals is step number one in that right direction. But of course, it's never enough just to not lose to an opponent. You want to go out and actively beat the opponent. You want to go out and take control of matches, take charge of them. And that too is a set of fundamental skills. As a general rule, we make a distinction between the fundamentals and your advanced skills. Okay, most coaching curriculums are built around this fundamental distinction. You got your fundamentals over here, you learn when you first come into Jiu-Jitsu, and you got your advanced skills you learn over here. And often classes are divided along those lines. This creates, it's not wrong to do this, but there is a potential problem here. That potential problem is that many students carry within them a mistaken way of looking at the sport. They tend to see the fundamentals as a phase that you must pass through. So they say, okay, I'm a beginner, I'm a white belt, so I've got to learn these fundamentals, and then as soon as that's over, we're going to get into the exciting stuff. We're going to learn blue, purple, brown belt, black belt skills, and then I'm going to forget all about my fundamentals. You cannot have that mindset. Okay? The fundamentals are the bedrock, the foundation upon which your entire game is based. Indeed, your ability to learn advanced skills is directly proportional to how good you are at fundamental skills. I'll give you an example. Danaher, 6-time world champion.
5, John. You
added
one more time.
It was inflation. One of the greatest world champions of his era. And at no point in your career did you ever make use of ashigarami-based leg locks. You had very good half guard knee bar attack because he's a katama. You were very strong in that. But ashigarami-based leg locks was never really a part of your game. When we filmed the Enter the System leg lock DVD, within 2 days, Bernardo was effortlessly hitting heel hooks on his training partners at the gym. Now, why was it so? Typically, I couldn't just grab a guy and say, hey, 2 days later, you're heel hooking black belts. It's not going to happen. But for someone who already is strong in the fundamentals, it's so easy for them to build additional skills on top of that. And within 2 days, he's heel hooking black belts. That's a direct result of the fact that he's strong in the fundamentals. Someone who's strong in the fundamentals is very, very easy to teach new skills. Someone who's weak in the fundamentals, it can be a nightmare. So just fast progress in the sport overall and the ability to add new skills as you develop over time, it all begins with the fundamentals. So we've got to get away from this mindset that the fundamentals is a phase that you pass through. No, you never pass through the fundamentals. The idea is this: when you go to make progress over time in Jiu-Jitsu, there's 2 ways you do it. You must refine the existing skills that you already have, usually fundamentals, because that's what you start with. So with regards to fundamentals, there's going to be a process of refinement for the rest of your time in Jiu-Jitsu. As long as you're doing Jiu-Jitsu, you must be looking to actively refine and improve the fundamental skills you already have. Then there's the addition of new and more advanced skills. So the way I see students making progress is in 2 different directions. There's refinement of existing skills, and there's the addition of new skills. Typically, the addition of new skills concerns more advanced technique. So in the case of Danaher, he added ashigarami-based heel hooks to his already substantial skill set. And it was easy for him to do so because he was strong in the fundamentals. But that doesn't mean that he just stops learning with regards to his fundamentals. Even now, having been in the sport for a long time, both of us spend the majority of our training and research time getting better at the small improvements with regards to fundamentals. And to be honest with you, I get more joy even now at 53, having been in the sport a very long time, with a small improvement in, say, for example, my elbow escape than I would in discovering a new leg lock. Even though one is supposed to be a far more advanced skill, I know I'm going to use that elbow escape movement or refinement a lot more than I'm going to use that new leg lock. And so I get excited about the fundamentals. When there's improvement there, I'm going to use that every single day, as opposed to a new and exotic move that I might use once every few months or every few weeks. So always let's make sure that we don't walk around with that attitude that the fundamentals is something you just do for a short time. It's kind of boring. You have to do it. It's a phase you have to pass through, and then you get on to the exciting stuff. No, that's not the way it works. The fundamentals are where the majority of your attention has to be for the entirety of your career. And always there's this act of continual refinement of the fundamentals over time. Right now you might have a good elbow escape, but we're not interested in you having a good elbow escape. We want you to have a great elbow escape. And when you get a great elbow escape, we want you to have an excellent elbow escape. When you get to an excellent elbow escape, we want you to have the best goddamn elbow escape in the academy, and maybe one day in the world. Okay, that's the goal. Constant refinement over time, and it never stops. There's never that end of the fundamentals where, okay, I've mastered the fundamentals, now it's time for my advance. No, you never master the fundamentals. There's refinement over time. That's the way that you want to think about fundamentals training.
Yeah. And John, you just mentioned like how can you get better on elbow escape, get better. And I think at some point started happening that you can even start putting together two fundamentals techniques, right? Because while you were saying that, for example, one of my favorite escapes from the mount is mixing up the bridge, the UPA, with the elbow escape. So I use two of the most basic fundamental escapes we have, and I put them together, and works like really well.
There's two ways you can look at fundamentals. You can say, okay, how much does this educate us about moves in general in Jiu-Jitsu? It may not be used that much in competition, but it might still have educational value. But at the end of the day, you've got to have practical value too. Jiu-Jitsu can't just be all theory. At some point, you've got to be able to kick some ass. So that's when I bring in the idea of high percentage. So I like to see a mix in a fundamentals program between theoretical importance, say for example a scissor sweep, and practical importance, which is many of the moves which we teach in the Go Further Faster series.
Yeah, and John, one question here. Like every video that I post that we do together, I always see someone asking like, what's John's methodology for his competition training? So how do you apply the fundamentals techniques with the competition team? Because as you can see, like I think Gary is probably one of the hardest guys to get a submission on, right? And Gordon, we almost never see him tapping as well. So what's the methodology that you use for the competition training? Like, is there anything specific that you do with fundamentals for them? Like,
yes, there is. My whole thing is precision. Okay, so often you see people teaching the generalities, and they say, okay, defend, say for example, the rear mount in this fashion, and they show the generalities of the move. That's fine. You'll have some success escaping using generalities. But my whole thing is to show particulars and details down to a level which a lot of people would find almost difficult to deal with. Like people say, oh, I teach too long, or I show too many details. I don't believe you can ever show enough details.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree.
I make damn sure of one thing. I prioritize details. Remember, your students have to be able to remember everything under stress. You can't give them 10,000 pages of notes and say, remember that when you're getting strangled.
Yep.
Life doesn't.
Can I interrupt you very quick?
Absolutely.
So last week we brought 7 of the best customers from BJJ Fanatics here to do a trip here to Boston, and then I taught them like a mini seminar and this and that, and they were talking about that. They were talking how when they watch your video, sometimes they watch one technique in the volume 1, and then in the volume 2 they watch something similar that is a little bit different, and then focus on the concept again.
Very good.
So it's exactly what you're saying there.
Yeah. But if you give the information and prioritize it. So this is the most important thing. This is the second most important thing. This is the third most important thing. And students will remember the most important things, and that'll get them out of bad situations. Okay. So I teach a mountain of details when it comes to fundamentals. I tend to be very strict on fundamentals. Okay, I don't get me wrong. I love exotic moves. I love innovation. I love to see people coming up with new stuff. I do believe there's a tremendous amount of value in being the first on the block with new technology. You saw that with my students with leg locking. My students came in using a general methodology of leg locking which hadn't really been seen before, and it gave them a huge competitive advantage when they first emerged on the scene. But you can't use innovation forever as a means of holding on to victory. Because at some point, people are going to figure out what you're doing and they're going to counter it. It's just the way life works.
So the foundation has to be really strong.
So the foundation will always carry you through.
Okay.
So interestingly, people tend to associate my coaching with rather exotic elements of jiu-jitsu, like system building and things like this. But in fact, the majority of my training time with my students is fundamentals. But fundamentals aren't sexy to most people.
I got it. Yeah, but that's the question. Like, so how do you implement that? It's more like in the warm-up, or it's doing the techniques or it's with the details? Where is that?
Great question that Bernardo just said. So many people dismiss the fundamentals into the warm-up.
I got it.
Okay, so on shrimping, just do it before class. Go up and down the mat 5 times. Okay, that's a disaster. Because now you've taken one of the most important skills in the entire sport, you've relegated it to a warm-up. So what do the students think? It's just something to do before I get into the real technique. No, the real technique is the shrimping. Okay, that's the stuff that's going to make the difference when someone's on top of you and you got to get out. You got 30 seconds to do it. That's what's going to get you out. I teach body movements as a skill. Often, at the completion of class, I will have observed the class and I'll pull athletes in. And I'll say, I saw you struggle in this position. And we'll go through details. Bang, 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 bang. And it's very, very precise. It might be the difference between gripping a hand here versus here. And that might be the difference between holding off a strangle or getting strangled out.
Got it.
And so I never relegate body movement and fundamentals to a warm-up. It's always taught as a very precise, very clinical, detail-oriented thing, often after class. So, for example, we'll work in class. Okay, here's the theme of the class. We go through a set of skills or themes for that given class. And then after class, I watch them in sparring. I say, I saw a failure here, here, and here. Let's address this now. And we go through the details.
Got it.
That was a great question.
And guys, there's almost 100 people. Anybody has any questions, like Randy?
Yeah, Maddie Mahoney had a question that I can't see anymore. So if you're still there, Maddie, ask your question again after we answer this next question from Christopher. Christopher wants to know what the #1 fundamental drill would be, in your opinion.
Is there any way Chris could be a little more specific? Is it a defensive drill or? Okay.
Pick one subject and we go for it.
I always believe at fundamentals level, defense is more important than offense. Okay, the reason is simple. When you first enter the sport of jiu-jitsu, you come in with no skills. You enter into a room full of people who have been there before you. So they have some skills and you have 0 skills. And so inevitably, most of the time, you end up on the short end of the stick. You're getting attacked. So defense is the first skill you got to learn. I would say the first thing I would start students with is solo, shrimping, and bridging skills. Okay, you got to start somewhere. So start by yourself, shrimping and bridging solo. Then experiment with body weight on top of you. Have people start in the mounted position and side positions and practice your bridging and shrimping underneath body weight. And then from there, work in various positions, side to side, with side escapes, elbow escape from mount, left and right side, so you feel comfortable on both sides. Having opponents behind you, sliding your back to the floor and turning into an elbow escape, and work like so. So everything would start with body movement, bridging and shrimping. There are other body movements that are important, but bridging and shrimping are the 2 most important for your foundational escapes. Focus more and more and more upon the idea of an elbow escape. There are many forms of escape in jiu-jitsu, but the elbow escape statistically is the king by a landslide. No other escape is statistically so important as the elbow escape. Invest time in it. Start with your own body and then work to your training partner's body.
And you ready?
Yeah, Maddie wants to know, have a little more details on kipping and the struggle to break free.
Yeah, absolutely. Kipping is a more advanced form of body movement. You probably are familiar with the word kipping from forms of exercise, in particular chin-up. Okay, if I'm doing a pull-up on a bar and I feel I've completely run out of energy and I cannot pull my body up with my arms and back alone, what do you see everyone do? They start kicking with their legs. They're kipping, okay? They cheat, they get up. Well, kipping is a way of moving my body weight through momentum built up by my legs. So for example, if I wanted to move my hips to the left-hand side, I would take my leg and generate motion, and then a kip moves my hips to the left. So I can, if you just excuse me, I can move in a circle just by kipping. Okay? So if I want to create space between myself and opponent, I could do it just by planting a foot, or I could do it by kipping and then planting. And as a result, we can get up to our base. Okay? So kipping is a way of moving my body weight by generating momentum in my legs.
Any other ready? That's it. So guys, the reason we decided to do these lives is because every time John comes here, we always spend time like talking about this. Exactly. So today we're like, man, let's put it live. Let's see how it's. Yeah. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you guys want to see more about fundamentals, we're gonna leave the link for the fundamental instructions at bjfanatics.com. And this is something that I'm going to try to do more with John. So he comes here like almost once a month. We take one entire weekend and we just shoot a ton of videos. So I think the live is going to be very fun too.
And remember guys, the most important thing of our discussion today, don't see the fundamentals as a phase you're going to pass through. See the fundamentals for what it is, the bedrock of your entire game in the sport. The stronger you are in the fundamentals, the harder you're going to be to beat for your opponent, and the easier it's going to be for you to learn additional skills as you get more advanced in the sport. It's not a phase you pass through. It's an active refinement over time. It's no exaggeration to say, and there's a mountain of proof to prove this is true, that you could have a game which was entirely fundamentals and had no advanced elements to it and still be a great world champion. Put the vast majority of your training focus upon the fundamentals. I promise you that it will bring dividends that no amount of so-called advanced moves could ever hope to bring you.
Hey guys, most people study Jiu-Jitsu through instructionals that look clean, but they don't show what actually works under pressure. Here we learn from matches, where technique is proven when everything's on the line. That's how you cut through the noise and see what truly works when it matters. On my Patreon, you'll find free breakdowns from the newest matches I can't post on YouTube, full studies, and complete guides, all built to help you improve faster and train smarter. You can start free right now. The link's in the description and pinned comment. And if you're new, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next study.